And we have with us Apoorva Bhandari today, who is Associate Director Product at Urban Company, where she leads the supply onboarding part. Before this, she was in the senior leadership product space in Agio and Practo. Apoorva is definitely one of the sweetest and thoughtful leaders we have come across, and I'm sure a lot of all of us would have a lot to learn from her today. So, and most importantly, she'll be talking about a very, very interesting topic today, which is almost synonymous to being a product manager, which is writing PRDs. So, we'll start with very fundamental questions of why even should you write a PRD? What are the must-haves of a PRD? And eventually come, how do you build a great, effective PRD?
But if I'm writing a PRD, the sections I make sure to include are the problem statement, which is what are you really trying to build or what are you really trying to solve? The objective, right, which is what is the solution and what is the success criteria that defines my objective well, right, or which tells me that yes, I have attained my goal. What is the scope of the product, right, which is you're building things, you might be building an app, you might be building additional screens on an app, you might be building an entire platform, by the way, which is which if you work in fintech or edtech or even gaming is a very very crucial part of product. What is outer scope? Because you will always want to do you will yeah actually you will always want to build, release MVPs and iterate, right? Because there is this constant question about how much do I build versus how soon do I release to get feedback. But let me not go into detail over there. Uh, Product scope, the flow chart, and this is a personal favorite. I use flow charts, or you can even use data flow diagrams depending upon the product that you're building. What it helps you is it helps you create a structure of what is the user experience going to be, if it's a if it's a consumer end product, or if it's a platform product or a supply side product, what is the information workflow going to be. Flowcharts are very very important to PRD building, because even if not everybody is reading all the contents of your PRD, right? A flowchart helps everybody understand how exactly is this product going to behave, how exactly is the information going to flow, how exactly is the user going to experience this product, be it an app, a website, or a platform. Then we come to functional requirements, which was a question asked, in which you detail out the capabilities you'll be building within your existing product, or if there is no existing product, the capabilities that you'll be building, which will shape up your new product, right? This functional requirement section is primarily for your developers. So you take care of backend capabilities, you take care of front end capabilities, you talk about if there are any specific, let's say, client server requirements, you include those, and you talk about, and the next section which breaks down from functional requirement is you talk about scenario handling. What it essentially means is you will a typical term that we use a lot in product is happy flow and sad flows. You have one happy flow. Let's take a very common example. I'm sure all of us would have tried shopping online. So I'm just going to take an e-commerce example. Your happy flow is you browse for products, you add products to cart, and you check out, right? What are the sad flows? There could be so many combinations of sad flows, right? You may not be able to add products to the cart because it went out of stock. Uh, if you and let's say if I am Dimpy are trying to add the same product to cart at the same time, it's both in our carts, but the limited inventory in the warehouse is only one. Right now, one of us will be able to check out, the other one will not be. Then the other sad flow is at the time of checkout, a particular integration with the payment gateway broke. Right? There are so many sad flows that occur in a product, and these flows or these scenarios have to be handled, and a product manager has to at least try to think of all the sad flows and happy flow and cover them as to how would the product handle it. Then the next section is wireframes, and this is where you work with design, right? It could be wireframes or it could be fully developed designs. That completely depends upon what is it that your developers need and what is it that you're building. Then the versioning and release plan, which is how do you roll out the product that you've built, right? You will not always go all out. I have 1 million users, I just rolled it out, this feature to all of them. No, you have to test, you have to watch, you have to track, and then you release gradually in more than one scenarios. And then metric tracking. So this template will help you structure your thoughts. It will help you ensure that questions and concerns of all your stakeholders, right, which are your end users, your developers, and your designers, are answered in this document.
what are the common mistakes you have seen in the PRDs written by the people who are early in their phases? So, what are the common mistakes to avoid when you are just starting out to write PRDs?
Okay, all right. I wanted to take this towards the end, but sure. All right. Mistake number one is we when you're starting out, and this is very specific to the context. When you're starting out, right? You and I, we all, when we starting out, we obviously have less context in the business or in the field that we are working in, right? We trust for our leaders to provide us context. We trust them that, you know what, if the leader is coming with a problem statement, it would be true. You know, it would make sense. And a lot of times, what I've seen is starting, aspiring PMs and APMs, they jump to discovery and solutioning before they actually understand that the problem is worth solving. Now, what will happen is if you jump to the solution, yes, you will be solving something because there is a problem indeed. What you will be doing is you will never have a single problem to solve in a company and in your product, right? You will always have three, four, five problems to solve. What you will miss out on is you will be dedicating a lot of bandwidth to solving a problem which probably impacted only, let's say, 20% of your users, right? And the 80% of users who are still struggling, you've not been able to solve for them yet. So when leaders or when somebody, more experienced in your field comes to you with a problem statement, you don't always have to take their word for it. Do your own discovery, do your own research, validate it when you start writing a PRD. And this is why I talked about the first thing, that current state problem statement, defining it, the current status and the key challenges that you're seeing and what is their impact is very important, right? The second mistake that I've seen PMs also do is that when they write capabilities, right? One of the things that, especially when you're starting out and it is only natural, is you write happy flows, but there are unhappy flows or there are other scenarios, exceptions especially, which sometimes we miss out on describing. So very important thing to do over here is like a one way at least that I love using to stop, to basically avoid this problem is I sit with designers, especially if it's consumer and product. I sit with designers or I do my own wireframing. And what I do is I try to basically draw every scenario, right? I would say that if I'm shopping, if I'm on e-commerce or in case of, let's say, fintech, if you're basically trying to solve for a single, payment gateway to handle all, your cards, your debit cards, your net banking, your UPI, your wallets, and your BNPL, all your payment gateways. What I do is I take so I'll talk about one of the tools. I take a tool, it's called draw.io. I draw out each and every scenario, right, that the user can possibly go through. And within that, I look at the happy flow, sad flow, happy flow, sad flows. You will almost always come across sad flows. And detailing those out actually gives exhaustive coverage to your developers when you're writing capabilities. So do not build your feature list just by happy flows. Create a flowchart or create a navigation first in a diary, on draw.io, on whimsical, whatever suits you, right? List on all the flows and then go to capability or feature writing. So yeah, these are some of the mistakes that I've seen, and I've made myself, by the way. The second one a lot.
So, could you maybe walk us to what release notes are and what is a good release? Like, what are the components of a release note? Maybe in a brief way.
Of course. So typically, right, one step, by the way, before release notes is before you send out the release note, your PRD, the feature that you're building, and of course, this is not covered in the PRD, but when you will roll out features, do reviews with internal stakeholders, right? If you build this feature, in this case, one of my clients was operations, the other client was users. With users, my rollout will give me the feedback. With operations team, I took them through the entire flow. I let them review it, call out any challenges that we might have missed even during our design and development, and take that feedback for the next phase. And once you have taken the feedback, you see that the product is working as expected, it's functional. What you essentially, a good practice for release notes is go back to the beginning of your PRD, and this is where you will be very glad that thank God I wrote the problem statement and the objective. Start with the problem statement in brief. You don't have to write the entire thing that is in PRD, but write the problem statement, write the objective, then in the end, write the solution. Do not go into the details. Just write that we have now built a system that will take care of scheduling all the training batches across India for all the 5,000 partners on a monthly basis, right? the operations team should not be creating any batches. They should instead only be tracking the progress of the batch and the partner response, right? We have also built a partner experience flow in the app to help partners reschedule the slots, right? So you talk about the problem statement, you talk about the objective, right? This will be, make it concise from your PRD, but take it from your PRD, right? Talk about your solution also in, in basically in limited, that you built a scheduler, you built an algorithm, and you built an in-app experience. Add the wireframes of the app. A good practice is create a quick video or a GIF and add that. Agar anything that you built on the screen on the app, right? Very easy to create a GIF out of it or a video out of it. Do a screen recording, add that to your release notes, right? And then after adding that, okay, this is what I've built. Now talk about what happens in case of any escalations, right? Talk about in case of any escalations, who will be the first person of contact and who will be the second person of contact. Do call it out. Always call out why, because the end users of your release notes will be all the other developers, right? Whose features are assimilated with your on the same app. There will also be operations who actually have connected with the professionals the most on ground in the past, right? So they understand challenges that could come, as well as customer care, right? In most companies you will have a customer care team, or even if a single person who takes care of customer care and partner questions, right? They should be make it easy for them to reach out to you, make it easy for them to do a deep dive also, that if something is breaking, if a professional is not able to see this, what is it that they should see, right? So basically, problem statement in brief, objective, just the features that you've built, preferably a video or a GIF, right? Points of contacts for escalation, like an escalation metric or a point of contact, and if possible, an SOP for your customer care team or your operations team to deep dive in case of any issues being reported, because issues are likely to be reported, right? It's an MVP after all.